plenty of anticipation ahead of an upcoming meeting between US President Donald Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. CNA's Roland Lim caught up with Mr. Modi's Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas at India Energy Week in New Delhi.
We're wrapping up our coverage of India Energy Week with a wide-ranging discussion with Indian Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Hardeep Singh Puri. Now, we covered the energy transition and the role of nuclear power, plus coal and Russian crude. But I started out by asking Mr. Puri what kind of agreements we should expect from the Trump-Modi summit in Washington, D.C.
I would be surprised if the kind of issues that you raise, especially in terms of trade, commerce, energy, if they didn't come up. Now, what does that mean for energy? Let me tell you very frankly, President Trump has never been ambiguous about it. He said from day go, domestically he said, baby drill. And for elsewhere, he said, let's bring more energy on the world markets. Let the era of high prices be over. Let's control economic inflation. Let's bring more energy on the market. Let's have more economic growth so that everybody can win. Now, I'm the energy minister of the world's third largest consuming and importing country. We are the fourth largest, refining capacity. Frankly, that's music to my ears.
How then is India navigating the hurdles put into place by the US with regards to Russian sanctions?
There are no hurdles, let me be very clear. India did not import virtually, it imported virtually very little or hardly any prior to February 2022. But then came the events of February 22. India is a well-known consumer of oil. We float tenders at the point of importation. I will float a tender. Anyone who has found oil in his backyard in sufficient quantity, if you want to export to India, we'll do it provided the price is right. The West put in what is called a price cap. Price cap meant you had to, if you wanted to buy Russian oil, you would buy it within a time. By the way, that was very good for me. If I can buy Russian oil at a lower price, or if I can buy now Venezuelan oil, hopefully, or I can buy more oil from Brazil or Argentina at a lower price, I will do it.
But discounts on Russian crude aside, though, how is it coping with the unevenness of flow? Are you...
No, you can never predict. Companies, governments don't do import. Governments don't import energy. Governments only interact with other governments on policy issue. Companies will buy, some of them will have long-term agreements, some of them will buy which are called term, some will buy spot if it's cheaper. Energy is traded. It's a very complicated trade. But my friend, let me submit to you, and today I make that submission more confident than ever before. Today there is more oil coming on the global market than ever before. And apart from the traditional suppliers who've held back supplies for whatever reason, there's more coming from the Western Hemisphere. More from Brazil, more from Argentina, more from Guyana, from Suriname, from Canada, the United States. United States is the world's largest producer. They make 13 million barrels. They're going to put another 1.5 million barrels on it. They're going to sell to someone.
So yes, you buy about $20 billion worth of energy from the US. Are you going to buy more?
Again, I will not speculate on what's going to happen between my Prime Minister and the President. But if you were to ask me again as an analyst, is it possible that you could buy more? My answer would be most certainly. I would buy more from many sources, and most certainly from the United States, especially gas, because US gas is $2 or so more competitive.
Minister Puri, you are a former diplomat and a student of history. And you've been very vocal about the fact that there is the clear and present danger of climate change. How do you put this all together in terms of coming up with a path towards net zero for India?
That is perhaps the part of the equation I'm most confident about today. We have all the challenges of a developing country. The companies which deal with fossil fuel, I mean talking about my oil marketing companies, they all have net zero targets which are more impressive than countries in the West. Some of them have 2040, 2045. As a country, our overall net zero target is 2070, but we always set targets which we never have to worry about in terms of faltering. I think we'll meet the net zero target earlier. But in order to get net zero done, let me tell you, some of the great things that have happened are our biofuel blending has gone up from 1.4% to 20%. We're getting in more liquid natural gas, piped natural gas. We're increasing the kilometerage of pipeline, compressed biogas. But you have to go down and green hydrogen, which is going to be the big story. But you have to go down the nuclear story. Believe me, small modular reactors, or what you're talking about now, are the wave of the future. Now, we had already stuck our necks out. In a previous government, we had a dispensation. We signed an India-US civilian nuclear energy deal. And my friend, we also signed an India-specific safeguard agreement with the IEA, International Atomic Energy, IAEA. We also signed with the Australia group on chemical precursors. India is ready.
Coal, of course, is the dirtiest of all fuels, and India uses it in abundance.
Uses what?
Coal.
For what?
Charcoal.
For domestic cooking?
Domestic cooking, yes.
Not a single bit.
Not anymore?
Not a bit. We've got total acreage. So it's almost free. Why would anybody use, if you're getting almost free clean cooking gas, why would anybody use coal?
But coal is still being used commercially.
No, come in. Coal is a very complicated thing, yeah, because some of our power plants, some of the other industrial establishment, we are hoping to get more gas, move from 6% to 15%, so we can use the gas to fire those plants. This is a historical legacy thing. We are not going into it now. We're weaning away from that.
Your answer to the energy transition is, let me quote you, strategic investment across hydrocarbons, renewables, with smart capital reallocation. What did you mean by that?
You know, it's like this. You have to make the transition. So in any definition of transition, you have a starting point and you have a goal. If you go about it the way the do-gooders went some years ago, they said we have to move away from fossil fuel, go straight into green energy. They hadn't worked out that green energy wasn't available. Secondly, when they said we have to move away, the investment stopped, which means the price went up. So what I'm saying is you need to provide targeted support. We are the only country member of the G20 which has made its Paris listing. Irrespective of what happens to multilateral and plurilateral arrangements, I'm not referring to anyone, India remains committed to the energy transition. But I've said time and time again, the transition has to be nuanced, well thought through, and we have to make sure that in the process of the transition, you don't leave any casualties around.
Well, that's the message we heard from Indian officials again and again here. They're committed to the energy transition, but they want it to be affordable, equitable, and sustainable. Translation, this isn't something that can happen overnight. Roland Lim, CNA, New Delhi.